Hi, I'm Josh Harris. I'm the Educational Technology Director for the Alisal Union School District. Welcome to the Alisal Professional Development Committee Virtual Conference Presenter and Moderator Orientation. You are probably watching this in the context of the presenter submission form, or maybe this has been sent to you. If you presented for us before for Alisal Technology Conference, ATC, or the Good Teaching Conference, GTC, some of this will be familiar to you, but there have also been some updates and some changes. If you're a vendor presenter, then this might all be new information for you. In 2022, the ATC Tech Conference and GTC, Good Teaching Conference, have been merged. So this is the first time we're using this video for the GATC, the Great Alisal Teaching Conference, or as we've started calling it, GATC. Thank you for presenting for us. Since you are watching this in the context of the submission form, or you may be, we're going to talk about it sort of in that way. For starters, we're going to talk about schedule logistics. So in 2022, which is the first GATC, although this video may be used in subsequent years, the event takes place on Monday, October 10, 2022, from 8:05 to 3:05. You can see the times here down the session. The opening will start at 8:05. All the sessions are 1 hour. You see it's session 1 begins at 9:25, session 2 at 10:35, lunch begins at 11:35, session 3 is at 12:35, session 4 at 1:45, and the closing is 2:45 to 3:05. The opening will have some fun videos and guest speakers. The closing will have the evaluation link and the raffle. And the links to the opening and the closing, and in fact, all of the breakout sessions will be on the schedule. So how is the schedule set up? Well, the schedule is built by us at the back end in Google Calendar. Each Google Calendar will be a Google Calendar event, as you can see in the picture here. Let me move myself out of the way. You can see is given the name of the session, and then the presenter and moderator are invited to it as guests of the session. So this will all be set up in Google Calendar. Moving on to this green bullet, it will be in the correct time. So you'll notice following, this is from last year, this is from the February 2022 Good Teaching Conference, and you can see the time slots here. It says 9:25 to 10:25, second session 10:35. You'll notice, however, moving on to the purple bullet, that it is not necessarily on the correct day. Last year, the event day was February 25th. I know that by looking here and seeing it says GTC opening and keynote. The reason we do this is just because it visually spreads it out and makes it easier for us to find the sessions in Google Calendar. If we stacked up all the sessions on one day, it would be really difficult to see. This is a change to, well, this is potentially a change. You and your moderator, and if you have a co-presenter, your co-presenter, will all be invited to the calendar event. And this is why this is highlighted. You will be given host controls ahead of time. Prior to this, moderators had to log in under an alias to gain host controls. Due to updates in Google, you will be able to just log in through Google Calendar using your own or your own Google account, whether that's your Alisal account or if you're an outside presenter, just whatever Google account. If you don't have a Google account and you are an outside presenter, then you need to contact me directly. And you probably already have. But in any case, you will be given host controls ahead of time. So all you have to do is log in as you were logging into any other Google Meet, and your host controls include muting, admitting people, turning on the recording, etc. So that will all be done ahead of time. You won't have to log in as another account the way we have done in the past. What will the schedule look like? Again, moving myself out of the way a bit and maybe shrinking my picture. There we go. Okay, so we always build the schedule in a Google spreadsheet, and it's the same format as before. You can see this is an image from the February event. So in case you're not used to seeing it, there will be this sort of opening section at the top that will include links to the opening session and the evaluation session. And then there are blocks as you move down the spreadsheet. Session 1, here you can see sort of how this is all laid out. All these sessions here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 or 9 sessions for session 1 last year. Here we have the title of it, When you hover, you can see this is an image of hovering for the description. Then we see the presenter and the moderator. If there's more than one presenter, as you can see right here on this red section, Clementina Pantoja, Marcelo Lomax, Patricia Alvarez, all co-presenters, and then the moderator was Monica Regalado. Notice that the session titles have different background colors. That indicates which may be recorded and which won't be recorded. Let's talk about descriptions for a second. You have to hover to see the description. Even before we went to virtual events, attendees' reading session descriptions was always iffy at best. Shorter descriptions are more likely to be read than longer ones. Don't assume that they will be read. And if the audience is specific, as an example, if your session really is just for sixth grade teachers, then please put that in the title. If it's really only for primary grades, kinder through second, really put that in the title, because that's the only place you'll know that people will see it. If it's really for people who are very experienced on a certain platform or in a tool, again, please try to find a way to put that in the title. There's never a guarantee that people will read your session description. So now let's talk about sessions and moderators and presenters. Adjusting my image there for a second. Okay, so if you're watching this in the context of form submission, there's a couple things you need to know. And here they are writ large, but every year this seems to be kind of an issue. Based on the way the Google form is constructed, the automatic email responses, and what is required for each session, only the presenter and the moderator are required. If your moderator is also your co-presenter, please only list them as the moderator. There are some people who seem to feel like moderator is a lesser title than co-presenter. I'm not really sure where that comes from. They're treated equally by us and they're treated equally by the district. But if your co-presenter is also going to be your moderator, or you're both going to be switching back and forth between being the moderator and the co-presenter, the way the form is set up, presenter is required and moderator is required, co-presenter is not required. So I'm going to say, please only list your co-presenter as moderator if they're going to be switching back and forth. If it's important to you that your moderator is listed also as a co-presenter, please put that in the special request at the end of the form. Sometimes people put in placeholders to fool the Google form because it's a required question. Please don't do that. Initially, don't list them twice. Don't put them as moderator and as co-presenter. Just put them as moderator and leave us a note at the end of the form. Please and thank you. When you don't follow that, it causes a lot of frustration and glitchy things in the automation at the back end. So again, moving my head out of the way. Okay, there are two types of sessions at our events. There are regular sessions. They require a presenter and a moderator. They are 60 minutes long. Our suggestions are that you plan for actually 40 minutes of content, because look at that last bullet point on the left. Everything takes longer online. Plan for 40 minutes of content. Coming here, try to keep at least 25% of your session hands-on, or that they're making or doing something, whether that's writing or building something with a digital tool, whatever it is. Please remember, people engage more with what they're doing than what they're necessarily listening to. If you can, try to break up the hands-on activity so it's not you talking constantly. A creator lab is a different type of session. It requires only one person, a presenter/moderator. A creator lab may still have both a presenter and a moderator. Just like any other session, it can have as many people helping with it as possible. And in fact, some creator labs, you might want to have a bunch of people helping to facilitate it so that you can do breakout rooms with that each also have a facilitator. So this is not a traditional presenter-led session. This is more time for guided, scaffolded expert support for teachers, where they can come in and take what they have learned maybe in another session in the day and do something that and then sit there and build with it or make with it or plan with it in a way that they have you as the facilitator of a creator lab ready to help them in case they run into blockages. It's not uncommon for somebody to offer a regular session, a breakout session where they lead new learning, and then offer a companion creator lab that goes with it later, so that teachers have a full time for application. Creator labs are only scheduled in the fourth session, so they're only scheduled at the last part of the day. If you have a regular session and it has a companion creator lab and you'd like that regular session to go in session 3 and your creator lab to go in session 4, just so that it's one right after the other, please just put that in the special requests at the end of the form. All right, so what are the differences in the roles? And again, we'll see anything highlighted is a change. So presenter or co-presenter, they log into the Google Meet as themselves. And if this is your first time presenting with this, you're like, would they log in as anything else? Yes, in a former practice, the moderators had to log in under a different email address. They log into the Meet as themselves. They will have host controls, mooting and booting, polls, Q&A, breakout rooms, all that stuff. They are theoretically the main designer or designers of the session. They are the main presenter or presenters of the session. They should be on camera the entire time. If you're presenting, just think about how, if you taught during the quarantine, what it was like to teach two people who were not on the camera, to just teach on people's little icons. Think about if you were attending some professional learning, what would you think of the presenter if they were not on camera? So if you're going to be the main presenter, please have your camera on the entire time. And theoretically, the presenter or co-presenters will do most of the talking. Again, if you and your moderator are switching off as co-presenters, then follow those things. The moderator logs into the Meet as themselves this year. Google's enabled us to set host controls ahead of time so you don't have to log in as somebody else if you're the moderator. Again, this is what we call mute and boot, which is just muting people. Please don't. I don't know that you'll have any reason to kick somebody out of your session. But it's just a turn of phrase. If you're going to do breakout rooms, the moderator can set those up ahead of time and then launch the breakouts. Again, both people will have host controls, but theoretically that will be what the moderator does. They should be familiar with the session because they are also the chat boss. And as you can see, that chat bullet and the sub chat bullet and the sub bullet says you should be dropping links in repeatedly as they are needed for your attendees. And remember that if somebody comes in late to a Google Meet and the link has already been dropped, they don't get the full chat history. The chat only starts for them when they entered. So you might have to drop the same links repeatedly. So answer text questions. That should say text questions, not test questions. So the chat boss, the moderator, the other thing we call them is chat boss, is monitors the chat and to see if people are having difficulty with technicalities, sound, links, whatever it is. But also, like, if somebody asks, hey, if the presenter asks, are there any questions? A lot of times people will put them in the chat. And if you're just waiting for somebody to unmute, then you might not see them. So the moderator or the chat boss will see, especially if there are questions that are trending, and read the trending questions aloud or say, oh, so-and-so has a question. In Google Meet, we have the hand raise. And if the moderator is paying attention to the people queue, they can call the people in the order that they actually raise their hand. So these are two both vital roles and very important when we're presenting stuff online. Okay, so these other logistics, they are mostly for internal presenters, but they are good things to know. If you need to contact anyone with certain questions, you can definitely contact me. You can also contact the co-chairs of the PD committee. At the time of the making of this video, that is Edie Porter for the school district and Maria de la Luz Aguilera for ATA. Those are the two co-chairs of PD committee, but you can always ask me. So whatever event you are submitting for, please check the submission deadline. If you're submitting for the 2022 GATSE or Great Alisal Teaching Conference, that deadline is October 2nd, which is a Sunday at 11:45 p.m., or basically before midnight. Timesheets, if you're an internal presenter and you get timesheets. So you get 3 hours for each unique session. This is both for presenters, co-presenters, and moderators. So what each unique session means is if you present 3 sessions and they're each a different session from one another, that's 3 unique sessions. You can timesheet 9 total prep hours. If you present 3 sessions, but it's one session repeated all 3 times, then that you only get the 3 hours because that's one unique session. If you repeat a session and then offer a second one, then it's 2 unique sessions, even though you presented one twice. That would be 6 hours. Hopefully that makes sense. They should be shared with the CNI or EdTech secretary. Do not send them to me. Do not send them to Edie Porter. Do not send them to Maria de la Luz Aguilera. Again, in 2022, the EdTech CNI secretary is Norma Leon. And if you type that into your email, it will autocomplete for you. There may or may not be a presenter moderator orientation coming up. It will be announced and it may be mandatory for moderators, although that was left over from when there was this difficult procedure as logging in for somebody else. So that may go by the wayside. If you're a presenter or moderator and you want to know if there's that orientation, this video should honestly cover it. If not, and we get enough questions, we might set one up. So hopefully that answers your questions. And I hope this has been informative, and we look forward to a great event. And we think it's going to be much easier this year to do it because of all the updates in Google Meet and in Google Calendar. Thanks.